Welcome back to the Ultimate Homeschool Community Podcast. I'm your host, Tiffany Hernandez. Today, we have someone very special from Tennessee. So this is more specifically for Tennessee. If you are a Tennessean, you're going to want to listen to this one. If you are not from Tennessee, you can still glean a ton from this episode. So welcome, Kelly from THEA. How are you doing today?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for having me on
Absolutely.
us on your podcast.
Yes, and Kelly and I have gone way back, and we are finally getting on this podcast together. So I'm super excited to have her come and share all her wisdom because she knows a lot. She's been doing this thing for a little bit. Can you share with our audience just a little bit of your journey and really how you got into homeschooling?
Yeah, sure. It's homeschooling for us started back in 2007, and so it's been a minute that we've been doing this, and really, in the beginning, it never occurred to us to homeschool. Our oldest son had gone through kindergarten and first grade in our local public school. We didn't really like it, the experience in general. We had a lot of just, I guess, critiques or criticism just about the system. I didn't have anything personal against any of the teachers. I thought that
Right.
they were all lovely people. It just always felt like it wasn't for us. But I didn't really think of an alternative other than private school. I had been raised partly public school and partly private school in my local Lutheran Church Missouri Synod school, and and loved that experience. And so when our oldest son was ending his first grade year, and we had really come to that realization that we wanted something different, I looked at the closest Lutheran Church Missouri Synod private school that was in our area, over a half an hour away. And I quickly found out that the tuition had changed substantially
Yeah.
from when I was in school, and my parents got deep discounts because we were members of the church and everything. But that was no more to be had, and it was very evident very quickly that we could not afford. To send into private school. Actually, that was quite a lot more than what my college tuition was costing for
Wow.
me to go, because I was also going to college at the time. And even, aside from the scholarships and stuff that I would get for my education, it was going to be well over $12,000. So that was
Right.
absolutely not happening. At that point, I did have a friend who was homeschooling her preschooler, and she had been telling me a few times, she's like, I keep telling you, but you're not listening. You need to look at home education. And the only other people that I really had known about who were homeschooling was the Duggar family on television. So that was kind of my only real look at what a family who homeschools um, does, or how they operate, was seeing, these reality TV shows about that family. But understanding that it was not going to work to put our child in private school, we had my second son was in preschool at the time, and then we also had a baby. And my husband and I had agreed before we even got married that it was very important that one of us, and it would be me, stay home with our kids when we had children. That was how we both were raised, and we really believed that that was the right way to do raising a family. So it was something that we said, well, we'll look into it. And I started researching. This is in Colorado at the time, because that's where my husband and I are both born and raised. And I just pulled up the law. I went onto the HSLDA website. I pulled up what Colorado's homeschool law says. I think I probably read it about 25 times, to the point that I had it memorized. And just, because I wanted to make sure I completely understood it word for word. and that it was broke down. And so the first year that we did this, I registered with our school with a letter of intent, or school district, and just went from there. I got some curriculum. I wasn't confident enough in what I was doing, and then I know that every homeschool mom who's done this journey is going to understand what I'm saying. Um, it's you start to lose confidence in yourself very quickly when otherwise you maybe wouldn't. And so I did buy an all-in-one packet of homeschool material from a major publisher, where they do the lesson planning and everything for you, and then you just go from there. And that, after a few months, and there was, I think, like a 6-month warranty on it. You could send it all back, get your money back with the full refund. After a few months, for us, it just wasn't working.
Mm,
I was starting to feel like I was failing my son. At the same time, we already had family members telling us that this wasn't a good idea. Your child's not going to be able to get into college or join the military or anything they want to do. I had other family members saying things like, "Well, are you guys not going to watch television anymore now?" I mean, I was like, "No, mom, we're not becoming Amish." But it's these are the kind of questions, and
well,
this was
yes.
yeah, this was the situation at the time, and but
All
so
backlash.
I did put him back in school after about 6 months of homeschooling that first year. For I think it was like 2 or 3 months to finish out the school. I sent the curriculum back and cried that I was a failure at this and it wasn't going to work.
Mm, so
Um,
relatable.
and then summer, yeah, yeah, you're totally relatable, right? Like, because
Yes.
I'm the only one who's ever done this. Third grade year starts, and we're right back at the same place, but the frustrations in the public school just keep mounting. My son um, does have ADD, which it runs in the family, and we know how to deal with it because it's my sister. Growing up was really had it. My father, so my mother would tell me, you need to give him, one, maybe two tasks at a time. Don't do any more than that, because, they need to be able to keep that stuff straight. But so the way that the education plan in the public schools for all the
Mhm.
children, it was really not good for him. He needed
Right.
that individual learning style. And so it was just, again, a few couple months into his third grade year, and I was like, no, we're going to try this again. I'm going to pull him and we're going to go for it. We're going to do this. And I realized, because I kept researching some curriculum, I didn't fully let go of this idea about homeschooling over the summer. And I came to realize, it was like, okay, wait a second. You've taught Sunday school. You've been a Sunday school superintendent. You've been a vacation Bible school director. You've written curriculum for your church for vacation Bible school, for the sole purpose of saving the $1,500 that the publishing companies, want to charge just to get out the door. You can do this. You've already gone through college, and I wanted to be a public school teacher, which is the joke, while at the same time being a stay-at-home mother. So I didn't really know how that was all going to pan out, but God knew.
Yeah.
And so I said, no, we're going to do this, and we're just going to do this a little bit differently. And I just started looking at curriculum individually and started picking and choosing what I thought might work for each individual subject. And in the meantime, my second son, because they're 5 years apart, he was still in a preschool setting. He had an IEP for a speech delay. And so I didn't really need to worry about him yet. I was focusing on my first son. And then we were successful after that. It just
Right.
starting to realize, it's like, wait a second,
You could do
no, you can
this.
do this. That's okay to piecemeal your curriculum and get going.
So
So
many. So many are like
that was
that.
how we started.
Good.
Yeah, yeah. In our small town that we came from out on the plains of Colorado, there was in our little tiny phone directory for our town was they even had a name under the main directory of the city services for homeschool. And there were two ladies, and they were the homeschool leaders for the support group in our town. And I called up both of them actually on the phone at different times and just talked to them. And I spent several hours talking between both of them, and they just mentored me and helped me out, and it turned into a beautiful relationship. And then, being involved in that support group, you start meeting other
Other,
families and
right.
become friends, and which is, what all these communities are here for. And so, and that was life saving for our journey. And that's something that just Facebook support groups alone cannot provide. You
Yeah.
need to
In
have that
person.
actual person contact.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and so in 2015 we moved out to Tennessee. Colorado had significantly changed from um, what it was like when we were kids growing up. In fact, I mean, even when our ancestors moved there, at the turn of the last century, Colorado, it was a lot different. And we saw the writing on the wall and we said, we need to leave. If we're going to get out, do it now before the kids are grown, and go find a place that still seems to be wholesome and have those morals and values that we're seeking. We loved the South from our travels, and so in Tennessee, East Tennessee in particular, we fell in love with when we'd vacation out here. And so we just pulled up our stakes and put everything into our 40-foot travel trailer and a moving truck, and I drove the truck with a baby in the car seat next to me and another child next to her, and my husband took our big van and our trailer and all the other kids in it, and we just headed east, and we're pioneers in reverse. Hit a campground, and he started looking for a place to rent a shop because he does auto repair, and we were looking for a home, and I was homeschooling the kids in the trailer, and it took about 3 months to find a home, and just
Wow.
starting all over in a new place. Um,
That's amazing.
and
It's
so at
hard
that
to start
time we
over.
had 5 kids. It was a lot harder than I thought it would be, because even though this was what we wanted and we moved to the place we wanted, I was not prepared for how hard it was going to hit me as a mom, a stay-at-home mom. And my connections were through my church, our 4-H club, our homeschool community, our
Right.
bowling center where my husband and I bowled leagues, but also our kids bowled homeschool leagues. And when you move to a place and you don't know one single person other than just your family, it's extremely hard.
Right.
And my go-to, I thought, okay, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to instantly put them in all the same things that they did in Colorado so that my kids don't miss a beat, thinking that that was going to be, the best thing for them to transition. So I immediately found a dance studio for the girls, and we immediately contacted a 4-H agent out here in this area, looked for, a church, and just trying to make it seem as though we didn't, like there was not having a pause. And what I came to find out was it didn't solve my problem as far as, not knowing people and being feeling part of a community, but
Right.
it did add a lot of stress. And so once we realized that that wasn't helpful, I slowed down a little bit and we decided we're going to take our time. And the kids were like, "We're great. We're fine. There's not a problem here, Mom. We're doing great. We love this, and don't worry about us." So after that, things started to smooth out. So yeah, the first year after moving clear across country, it it was hard. It was very emotionally hard. I felt like we had made a mistake. I wanted to go back home, and but now, I mean, it's you couldn't pull me away from East Tennessee for anything, and we absolutely love it here, and this is home, and it always will be. So we have our roots here. Um,
Yes.
but
And
yes.
you I think you share a scenario to several homeschool families. They might end up homeschooling because they don't want to put their child in mid-year to a school system, or they're just like, okay, we're done, we're going to try this. But hearing about the struggles of curriculum and feeling like you're a failure, I feel like a lot that resonates with so many of us. And then needing to find community, and how do you find community when you don't know anybody? And then having
Mhm.
online connections are great, but in person is what your children need. Like they need that. And I love the iconic, oh well, you're homeschooled, so your children aren't socialized. It's like, no, no, they are. Don't worry. So that's led you to a
Right.
whole bunch, right? And I know we have
Mhm.
so much more to share. Kelly's going to be on here a few different times because we've got so much to talk about. But can you tell everybody what are you doing now? Like now that that has been your past and you've experienced that, like what has that led you to do within the homeschooling arena industry?
Yeah, so it's we'd never been on Facebook or any kind of social media. We didn't even watch YouTube videos out in Colorado or anything. And my husband did a Facebook page for his business because he needed to, of course, restart his business out here. And I thought, well, maybe I should go on Facebook and maybe see if there's homeschool communities to start to connect with, because being a excuse me, a veteran homeschool mom, by the time we had left Colorado, I knew that um, homeschoolers, we tend to keep to ourselves. And oftentimes, at least the longtime traditional ones, I know the demographics are changing now, but it's one of those things where you just start to know each other through your groups. But unless you know people who know people, it can be kind of hard to find. And I just started. So I got on Facebook, found some community homeschool groups. um, People would ask questions about this or that, and I would just start to answer some questions, and it just kind of went from there. I got involved. I found THEA. I found THEA actually in Colorado before we left because they do have a website. And the funny thing is that I thought, oh, what is this? This THEA group, and are they trying to control homeschoolers? I mean, why do we have to pay to be a part of their group? I don't like this at all. And so when I came out here, I already knew. I was like, well, I don't know what this THEA stuff is, but from what I can tell, I don't want to be a part of it. And I went to a curriculum fair in Middle Tennessee for for that chapter, and because that's where everybody goes, right? When you want to meet people, interact with publishers, home curriculum publishers, and buy curriculum and visit with other homeschooling families, you go to your education expos, your curriculum fairs, and whatnot. And that was the only one at the time that we knew of. So we drove all the way over there to the Nashville area. And I started talking to the representatives of Middle THEA at the time, and they really explained what this organization is. And no, it's not about control. It's all about advocacy. They're homeschooling families themselves, and this is the reason why they exist. And so I thought, okay, well, that's good. And when I realized that, well, we have a chapter in our area because there's one for every county in Tennessee, then I looked into it and I was able to connect with our chapter. And we joined, and I started meeting other families here in that regard. And it was great. And we just got involved. And after a while, our oldest son ended up graduating high school through Thea. At that time, the area coordinators who had been here for 12 years, they were the third area coordinators, husband and wife team, since MIDI-C was established as a chapter in 1994. They wanted to retire. I mean, 12 years of service, and this is voluntary service. God bless them. And nobody else seemed to really want to step up to take this. And on the eve of the chapter being disbanded and having the counties broken up to go to Smoky Mountain THEA and Chattanooga Southeast THEA, my husband and I said, okay, well, we'll go ahead and do it. And my thought was, I told my husband, I was like, we've finally gotten to where we have friends and I have a community here and my children have other kids to play with. I can't let this go away and start all over. And so we agreed to step up and be the area coordinators for our chapter. And that was in September 2018. And we just took it over. Some of it was trial and error, and just knew that, well, there's certain events and things that need to happen at certain times throughout the year. and what the job is. And I just took what I know as a homeschool mom and what I've, used to doing in other areas. Um, like I said, through things like church leadership and whatnot, and 4-H leadership and everything, and just applied it to that. So, and you just going through the motions after the years, you just learn what works and what doesn't, and you streamline things that you need to do. And there's been ups and downs, but most of it has been ups. And I'm this is just what we're doing right now. So yeah, so we lead, it's a 5-county chapter in our area, and every chapter of THEA has events and functions that we provide for our families, in addition to what the statewide organization as a whole does, which is tracking legislation and ensuring a right to home educate. So we provide things like a formal high school graduation ceremony, a used book and curriculum sale each year, and I've expanded that to include things like crafts and kid entrepreneurs and homeschool authors and whatever else. We have field trips that we offer. We work with area co-ops who want to come under us for help and protection and insurance coverage. We partner with a co-op when we provide prom and to our homeschooling families for those who want it. There's just a lot of support, and just little things. So throughout the year, phone calls, endless phone calls with homeschooling parents. Um, Help! I want to pull my child out of public school, and I want to homeschool them, but I don't know what to do. Um, Help! My child has a learning disability, and I'm not sure who to talk to. Help! My husband and I want to get a divorce, and we don't know what to do with custody of the kids, and how is that going to work? Help! The judge in my county wants to send my son back, and we are working, with trying to be able to keep him homeschooling. What do I do about that? Just countless questions. I want to start a co-op. What do I do? Is this a co-op or is this a private school? What does that look like? What's the fire code, for my church if I want to have a co-op here? It's just emails and phone calls all throughout the year, and it can depend on what's going on. I mean, in 2020, we were every single day, all the leaders across the entire state were fielding questions either through Facebook, email, phone call, Facebook Messenger. It was all day long from families who wanted to homeschool because they had seen the mess that was going on with the school shutdown and then putting all the students onto online education. They knew enough to know that we like having our kids home and helping them with their education. And they also know enough to know that they don't like what they're seeing coming out of the public school. And so that was all the time. At the same time, the Commissioner of Education in Tennessee, that I think it was July of 2020, wanted to impose a child welfare check in-house for every Tennessee family who had children. And she wanted to do this because her reasoning was that several months had gone by since school teachers had put eyeballs on these children, and we need to make sure that they are fed and not neglected, not being abused, because I guess if they're in public school or even a private school, then they're going to be able to detect all these things. I've got a lot of opinions about that, but that's for another day. And so we, of course, quickly said, well, wait a second, you didn't put any exceptions in there for homeschoolers, because homeschoolers are also not having your public teacher eyeballs on them every day either. And so that was something we quickly rallied the troops. It was the parental rights issue to say we don't need to have the Commissioner of Education send the Child Protective Services people into every single home in Tennessee, much less the homeschoolers' homes, for this check to make sure that kids are not being abused and being fed and not neglected. within about 48 hours of rallying families across the state and basically shutting down the phone system in Nashville and crashing the email servers, they asked us to call off the families because they got the message and they tabled that idea indefinitely, and then it never came back. So that was helpful. That was very beneficial. Um, there's been there's been plenty of times when we've been dealing with a bill that's been critical like that, and we've had to get the word out to all of our families. Please contact this education committee with all of these representatives or senators on whichever committee the Senate or House is moving through, and politely uh, ask them to oppose this bill, reason why we think it's a bill that needs to be opposed. Or there have been times when we'll say, please call and ask them to support it because we believe that it's helpful to us or beneficial to us. We've a few years ago, there was a big hoopla over hours that were considered to be, changed in Tennessee for umbrella school students under the category for church-related schools, and that some homes, actually, probably I'd say the vast majority of homeschoolers in Tennessee fall under this category. And what had happened with that was about 10, 15 years prior to anybody being notified, changed or put in a provision, however you want to word it, to say that the students under category 4 church-related schools need to have under the attendance law, their time in education meet the same time that public schools are, which is 6.5 hours. And truth be told, because there wasn't anything that was known about on the books with the law regarding that for homeschoolers, other than option 1, which is your independent homeschoolers with a letter of intent to your school district, that specifically says 4 hours in Tennessee with 180 days. Because that was not spelled out for church-related schools, everybody just took it to mean that that applied for them too. And and anybody who homeschools their kids, honestly homeschools their kids, so we're not talking about anybody who's neglectful, knows that you do way more than 4 hours, a day of real home education, and more than just your 5 days a week. And so when this was, when they had updated the policies and rules and regulation a few years ago, and that came out, um, there was a lot of panic going on across the state. And THEA and HSLDA was working with many of our big umbrella schools across the state who serve a lot of our families. And we were looking at what's going on and having meetings about it. And we said, look, this is something that's it wasn't new. It was just an update that we weren't aware of, and it does not, in practice, affect homeschoolers how we home educate our kids. Because unlike a state like Colorado, we don't have to log the actual hours per day. We just have to say we're doing the 180 days, and so we made sure to try to put that information out there that, this is in practice, it's not going to affect anything you're doing. We already know that you probably do way more than that anyways. So it's just pretty much continue as normal. But yeah, we took a lot of heat, and so did HSLDA, for criticism saying, well, you're behind the 8 ball and you're supposed to track legislation. And it's like, but this wasn't legislation. This was an agency, rules and regulations. And this is what they did. And they don't check with us first. They don't have to check with us first. So there's just things like that happen that we filled, and every single year you never know what you're going to get.
Okay, so lots and lots of information there. And THEA is really there for the homeschooler. You mentioned about the association being there to answer questions and help them get started and what to do with co-ops and all of that. And so The other thing that they also have is like an insurance portion. Can you share just a little bit about that? Because co-ops a lot of times are like, oh, what do we do for insurance? And we actually have a solution for that within THEA, if you're already a member.
Right, yeah, and, it's a really great, insurance opportunity for co-ops and any it's not just co-ops either, support groups, sports clubs, speech and debate, any kind of a club you might have, even events. So if you want to have a winter formal, dance event, if you wanna have a kid entrepreneur sale, anything that you're doing that's an events like that, um, we can provide that insurance for you. We don't sell it, we just provide it as a benefit. And what it is, regardless of which you're using, whether it's for something like clubs and co ops or events that might pop up, it's the same coverage. It's a $2 million general liability insurance coverage that also includes things like abuse allegations, board and officer coverage, religious freedom. Um, I'd have to look and see what else we have. But, anyways, it covers all those extra sidebars that oftentimes you don't have coverage under other insurance companies. And this was developed specifically for homeschoolers because we are such a unique category. So oftentimes, maybe a co-op director might realize when they really look into what their policy has, it's not covering them like they thought they were. And the way that it breaks down, let's just talk about for instance, co-ops that might want to have this. The way that it really breaks down is we start with 25 students or a minimum of $50. So even if you don't have 25 students, it's still $50 for that co-op, and it's $2 a student. So this is remarkable coverage. So if you go over that 25 threshold, then it's still just $2 a student. And what the co-op directors that we work with, what they usually do is they just include that in their registration for their families when they're registering for the co-op to build that in. So it's not coming out of the director's own finances or the co-op's budget. And the condition is that each family needs to be a member of your local chapter. So for here, that would be $20 a year per family to Mideast THEA. And then half of that, roughly half, goes to the state level organization. And then the rest of it stays here in the chapter to just help provide for the needs of the chapter. So it's $20 per family per year, and then those co-ops that use our insurance, they pay $2 per student, and they get that coverage. The directors like it because oftentimes, most times, these co-ops are housed in a church, and that church needs to have a certificate of insurance to show that it's the insurance coverage is not going to be coming out of the church's liability. And that way, these co-ops are able to provide that. They're able to show that we do have this. And also for the abuse allegations, we need to have at least the director have a background check on file. And that shows the due diligence that the insurance company wants. I know of co-ops who go a lot further, and they'll say, look, any adult volunteer who's going to be in here, whether they're a teacher, a hall monitor, somebody who helps set up or clean up, it doesn't matter who you are. If you're here all the time as a volunteer for the co-op, you need to have a background check on file too, just for due diligence. So that's how that works. Now for the events, like say prom, for instance, that's $45, and it covers up to 300 people. And more than that, it's 15 cents a person. And you do not have to have every single person as a member of the chapter. It just needs to be whoever is hosting that event needs to be a member of the chapter. And because they understand that you can have guests there. And so, like, take if you have graduation, you're going to have grandparents and aunts and uncles in. and friends and other folks coming through those doors. And the
Right.
insurance company realizes that. So there's two different forms, and I help them, fill it out for what they might need.
Right.
But it's a really great service.
Oh,
Some
yes.
co-ops save thousands of dollars.
Yes,
So,
hundreds of, yes, several. I mean, just the events alone, because I've run several events, and we weren't, because of the venue, I had to use a different insurance, but it was several $100s for the insurance versus like $45 for the same amount of people.
mhm,
So it's incredible the opportunities that gives to the homeschoolers to do more. And then, like you said, Kelly, there's a lot of just with what's going on with all the laws and the bills getting passed and everything, and the organization helps keep all the families intact and with what's going on, which is huge, because I think a lot of times that part is very, not scary, but it's like it's hard to understand. It's just government
mhm.
and legal and all of that can be very hard to understand. And yes, HSLDA is another great place to go for that information. But like on our local level, this is really helping in the
Mhm.
community, which is great. And
Right,
I know you're very,
right.
very involved. And so I'm really happy and glad that you've been able to help so many families, especially here in Tennessee. And you did mention there are different chapters. There is a place where you can go online and see which chapter you are a part of to contact that specific chapter for Tennessee. So we can put that in the show notes below so you can make sure to find yours if you're like, yes, I want this opportunity. I would like to be involved. I want to start a co-op. Like, how do I do that? Um, and that way you can get all your questions answered and make sure you're in the right place. And for those of you that are
Right.
not in Tennessee,
TNATA.org.
right, um, it there are other states that do have these
Mhm.
associations. They are very private, as we were talking
Most
about
of them do.
earlier. Right. So you might just have to check in your state if you have one. Um, what is something that they could maybe search online to find? Because I know there's a lot of like, there's some gates here, and so we're not allowed to disclose who all has it or what those organizations are. But if they wanted to maybe search for that in their area, what would they look for?
Well, you could just say, like, you're in Idaho, and you might just type in something like homeschool organization in Idaho, something along those lines. And just start to see what pops up. And you'll have things pop up in the search engine, and you just need to kind of start going through them and see, do they call themselves a statewide organization? Are they a 501c3? For instance, THEA is a 501c3 not-for-profit organization, founded in 1984. I believe it was the first statewide organization, if not, one of the very first ones to be founded right along with HSLDA. Um, and it's been a great leader in the nation for state orgs. So I know that there's at least 40 state organizations across the country, not including the ones in Mexico and Canada as well, if there's anybody across the border on either side watching. But that there will be, probably more than that, because I believe right now not all 50 states have one, but we're pretty close to all 50 states. And sometimes what happens is there might be one that's temporarily disbanded while leadership gets, shook up and is changing, and then somebody comes along and they want to restart it, or they want to restart one, and the name might change a little bit. So um, we do have a few states. I think New Jersey was in that boat. Missouri was in that boat. But most of the states do have a state organization. As Dr. Raymond Morse said in the very early 80s, with even THEA, it's, if you don't band together, they're going to pick you off one at a time.
Mhm.
This is something that is very true. And and not said in the spirit of fear mongering, because that's definitely not what we want to do. But the fact of the matter is that your voice carries more weight when the legislators who you work with know that you're part of a statewide organization with families backing you from one side of the state to the other. Um, we love our co-ops. We love our umbrella schools and all of our support groups across the state and, across the entire country. We're all doing the same thing to advocate for homeschooling families. But the fact of the matter is, a co-op on one side of the state in one county and a co-op on another side of the state in one county, trying to fight maybe a bill that they don't like, is not going to have the same weight behind those phone calls as if that committee or that legislator who's sponsoring that bill knows that there's an entire state organization that's backed by hundreds, thousands of families, plus attorneys from HSLDA who are helping us and working with us. Every state has an HSLDA attorney assigned to them. Ours is Senior Counsel Will Estrada. And he flies in when we need him to. He works with our president, Claiborne Thornton, anytime they need to go to the Capitol and speak with legislators. So we've, over the last 40 years, have built up a wonderful working relationship with our legislators because they know THEA has a very good reputation. They know that we will talk with them if there's a bill that's come up that's concerning, and we will politely and respectfully explain the reasons why, with lots of details and supporting information to back up our concerns. They know we bring our families every single year to Rally Day at Capitol Hill. It's the Capitol Hill Rally Reception Day that we put on. And we've been told over and again from the lady who schedules that up in Nashville at the Capitol that our rally is the one that they look forward to the most. They love seeing the families come there. We ask every homeschool family across Tennessee to come, bring all of your children, bring the babies and the strollers. We have a beautiful rally in the House chamber. There's a student congress that happens where students are able to write bills and be in the Senate chamber and the House chamber and the old Supreme Court room. And they get to do what the legislators do. They get to argue for their bills and vote on them. We have the speech competition that's happening at that time. We also have our signature gift bags that go to every legislative office. And inside those gift bags are not only homemade cookies that our homeschool families make for them, but a booklet that brings the good report of home education to those legislative offices. And it explains the work that we've done. It highlights our outstanding students across the state. And it talks about our history. When we have new legislators who are sworn in after an election, we will go, a team of THEA board members will go to their offices to meet them in person and say, hi, this is who we are. This is the work that we do. And because we realize that relationships are everything, and it's
Absolutely.
extremely important to have those good relationships. And so, but because that's how we were founded. Lana and Claiborne Thornton are our presidents and the founders of the organization, and they, along with other families back in those very early days, and many of them were being prosecuted, court, jail, everything you can think of, children being taken out of their homes. It's we can't fully appreciate
No,
what they went through back in those days.
right.
Even the fights that we have now, we just cannot fully appreciate what they have gone through. And so we just want to always keep that in mind and not lose sight of um, what the struggle was for the Thorntons to be able to help write our homeschool law bill and get that passed and signed into law in 1985, and how important it was to form an organization and to band together so that, as Dr. Raymond Moore said, we don't get picked off individually, and set that standard. And that's what we've been doing ever since. And it's a beautiful thing. And I'm just one of many people who are very passionate about this. And I don't know where, somewhere along the way, I went from being the mom who was trying to figure it out and self-doubt and stress and everything else, to the mom who was offering advice, just like my mentors did for me. I don't I don't know when and how that shift happens, but I guess it does, and it's the tightest to relationship that we have, and it's a wonderful thing. Mothers, homeschooling moms and dads, lifting up other homeschooling moms and dads,
Yes.
and walking with them. So, and we have a
Yes.
state organization that will help us do that.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing about it. I know there's been a lot of like questions around it, so I figured let's just have you come on and clear up some of those and then just share about what THEA can do. And like you said, it's very affordable for the families, and it helps it helps on so many areas when we do band together. There is one more question that I have about that, because I know there are some, like you said before, homeschool families like to tend to stay to themselves, and they don't want to be on any registry, and they don't want to have their name listed anywhere. But I mean, the truth of the matter is, whether you put your intent to homeschool, it's at the school board that you're homeschooling. Whether you're with an umbrella school, it's at the umbrella school. Like,
Mhm.
you are registered somewhere. There are a very, very small select few that aren't registered anywhere for anything. They're
Mhm.
We don't want to talk about that,
Which is
but
against the law, by the way.
that's a
In
rabbit hole.
Tennessee, that is against the law, but
Yes,
yes, there
yes.
are some.
There are some, they think, yeah, at any rate, you don't, yes. So I know there are some that are like, oh, well, I don't want my name on this registry and that registry, and like, there is no selling of information here. Can you share a little bit about like what actually happens to that information?
Yes. And I'm really glad that you asked that question. It's because I didn't even think about to answer that. Okay, I just want to make it clear, because this has been even brought up to me before, a few years ago, that some folks were concerned. They were told incorrectly that we take families' names and children's names and their social security numbers, and we turn them into the Department of Education. And that could not be further from the truth. Um, I do not collect social security numbers for anybody, anywhere, at any time. Um, the families' names do not go any further than the chapter. Um, I need to, every year, I turn in the dues that are paid to our state level. Like I said before, 9 of it goes to the state level, 6 of it stays in our chapter. And I just say, okay, this is the number of members we had for this year, so that they can obviously, calculate that and verify that the check that we send in matches. And that's it. When I have a family that signs up, I just ask for very, very basic information that I
Hmm.
need. And I'm the only one who sees that. And it's just the last name of the family, the parent's name, or just even one. I do not want to know your children's names. Not that I don't think they're beautiful kids. I don't want to know their names unless they're just a friend of the family. I don't have any reason to need to know their children's names. Um, I really just need to know your phone number, a good email address, so that I can put you in our group email,
Yes,
so anytime I need to send information out. What county you're in, to make sure that you're in our chapter. We'll help you if you're not in our chapter, but we really want you to be in the chapter that you're closest,
assigned.
for that
Right.
local support. And just what option under the Tennessee homeschool law you are choosing. And the reason why we need to know the option, whether it's one, which is the independent letter of intent to your LEA, two, an umbrella school, which is that category 4 church related school, or three, an online accredited distance learning school, is because THEA and HSLDA, who we partner with, need you to be a legitimate under law. When I say legitimate, what I mean is under our TCA 49-630-50, or an umbrella school 49-5801, in order to be registered with us as a homeschooler. If you are a public school at home online, you are by definition, by legal definition in Tennessee, you are not a homeschooler. You are still a public school student. And therefore, even for instance, HCLDA, they could take your membership dollars as a donation, but the representation is not going to be there because you're not legally a homeschooler. So that's that distinct difference. But no, we do not do anything with the information of the families other than we just count how many families at the end of the year and send in that check that correlates with that to the state level. And I just use that information to communicate with my families. That is it. And as you correctly pointed out, yes, in Tennessee, if your child is of compulsory attendance age, which is 6 to 17, your child has to be placed somewhere in the school system. It has to be a public school or one of the private school options, or the homeschool option. And yes, at that point in time, all of those school systems will have that family's name and that child's name sent to the Department of Education for their records. It's in law, but no, THEA has nothing to do with that at all. That
Right.
is strictly through what system you place your child in once they reach compulsory attendance age.
Right.
So no, I'm a huge advocate for parental rights, but also with that, I know I for one, I'm very sensitive about that and protective. Like when I work with my graduate families for high school graduation, I make very clear at the parent meeting that I only want the parent's name and phone numbers and email addresses. I will not take the graduate's phone number or email address. I will not communicate with them
Mhm.
through that, anyway, only with the parents because they're minors. And I'm just extremely sensitive to that. So
Mhm.
I just figure it's for all of us, it's just a really good practice.
Absolutely. I'm so glad you clarified that. And if there is somebody out there who's like, okay, I want the least amount of government interference or educational department interference in my homeschool journey, um, what would you say would be one of the better options?
Well, that's going to depend on what state you live in and what the law allows for. If you're in a state like, say, Tennessee and Colorado, for instance, where they are very similar on those options to homeschool, then there's a reason why probably at least 80% of homeschool families go with the umbrella schools, because you do have to pay an enrollment fee for those schools, but they are private schools. And you then go out from underneath the jurisdiction of the public school entity. And you're under the authority of your umbrella school that you choose to place yourself under. And those umbrella schools are ran by homeschool parents and grandparents themselves,
Yes.
who understand your lifestyle, speak your language, know the threats that might be, around in your state with legislation or anything else. And so if you are in a state that does have regulations and concerning, a compulsory attendance law, a law that says you have to register somewhere for home education, if you have an option to do an umbrella school, um, then that's definitely what I would recommend doing, because again, you have to have your child placed somewhere.
So, mhm.
Placing them with a homeschool advocacy school that will take your attendance records, your grades, and your education plan, the same that the public school will, but the public school does not speak your language, does not understand the homeschool lifestyle the same way. And it has gone both ways across the country in different states. Either they unintentionally make mistakes with their understanding of the law, or they intentionally make mistakes with the understanding of the law and impose
Mhm.
requirements that are not within the scope of the law for homeschoolers. And then that's where you have to get legal involved in order to correct those situations. if a family's with an umbrella school, that takes that completely out of the picture, and that family is safe with the umbrella school. So that's what I would definitely recommend. If you're in a state that does not have regulations, you don't have to register anywhere. Um, that's a great thing for family freedom, for sure. It's even more important to have a very good, solid state organization in those states where there's no requirements, because those are the ones that are going to be attacked first with groups um, who are looking to impose regulations on homeschool students.
Right.
And that's happening now across the country. And
Yes.
those are the ones that are getting hit hardest first.
Right.
So
Exactly.
definitely, if that, I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, no, it does. And there are several that you can apply to, especially for Tennessee. I can only talk for Tennessee because that's where we're at. You've got Home Life, you've got Access Academy, you've got Honor School, you've got THEA Academy. I think there's Farm School. There are several. And then you can also apply
Mhm.
within some private schools have public school registration.
Or
So
total
you can
home
actually,
options.
right. So there is that option as well. It really just depends on what you're looking for and how much help you need or what kind of involvement you're wanting them. Because some, like the home life, they do help you with transcripts. They do help you with questions. And if you don't want any like involvement at all, I'd say go with Honor School because they really kind of stay out of that altogether. You are in charge of all your things and they leave you alone. So this has
And
been
and
great. Well, I'm
and on
so
that note,
glad.
I will say too,
Yes.
to interrupt really quick, be very careful which umbrella school you're choosing.
Yes.
Um, the cheapest options, not necessarily the best option. Um, there's a particular school that you mentioned, and to our knowledge and everything we've researched, they don't require the same amount of things that the Tennessee Department of Education requires. Um, we have some very serious concerns, along with HCLDA, about the legitimacy of the school operation, but we are not going to. We have to be
We,
very careful how we
mm-hmm.
speak and what we say about that, if asked. And
A
so,
hundred
just
percent.
be extremely careful. I can recommend a whole entire list of legitimate umbrella school options, especially just even knowing the administrators myself. But you get what you pay for, and
Absolutely.
you need to research it very, very carefully.
Absolutely. Yes. And that goes along with as well, like keeping your own records, making sure that you're still doing all of your job
Mhm.
as the parent to make sure that you can date and have proof of what you have because even maybe you do choose one of the cheaper options because that's all you can afford at the time as long as you've got yourself covered a lot of times that can still help manage or mitigate some of those discrepancies but yes if you have any questions for that Kelly is the person to talk to where is the best place to find you? What is the best place that you would state so would you would tell everybody to find you or ask their questions?
Well, you can either find me through our website, which is methea.org, or you can, which has a contact us button that will take you to the same email address, which is mideasthea, mideasttthea @gmail.com. And I'm the one who checks those emails, and then I can go from there without giving out my my cell phone is my cell phone number is
Yeah,
out
yeah,
there,
yeah.
anyways.
But
But
that's okay. We don't
I'll
need it.
if you could contact me through, yeah,
Right.
if you contact me through the website, or the email address, then we can connect that way. And
Absolutely.
I would just emphasize, regardless of what state you're in the United States watching this, and you either homeschool now or you want to homeschool, you need to find your homeschool law for your state. And you can do that either through your state's General Assembly and look for the code under education under that title. of the code, or you can go on to HCLDA and you can do the Find My State with the legal analysis, and it will give you a breakdown of your law. What has become abundantly clear, even just this year alone in our legislative session, is there are a shockingly low number of homeschooling families who are not aware of the language in the law for home education, and they've become very confused very quickly with a lot of hype and misinformation surrounding some of the bills we're dealing with right now, because they just do not have a fundamental understanding of what is in our current law right now, the law that was passed in 1985. So, like I said in the beginning of my journey, one of the first things I did was I found the law and I read through it to the point that I had it memorized and I felt like I fully understood it. Everybody, regardless of what state you're in, and regardless if you're in an organization or not, you need to be doing this because you need to know that you're correctly homeschooling under your law. And if there's a bill that comes up or something that's going on, you'll know what's already in your law and how you fall under that for home education, so that you are educated on that yourself. So I would encourage everybody to do that.
Okay. All right. So yes, we definitely need to know what we're doing, what we're not like what we're under, what we're not under. And HSLDA has a great element on their website. You can also go and ask them questions. I think even if you're not a member yet, you can still talk to them about that,
Yes.
because that is a very
Yes.
important thing to note. But yes, we don't want to be negligent to the information that we have available to us, so we know, or we can defend like, hey, yes, I chose this, I know what I'm doing. And a lot of times this is where the associations can come in and help you understand those laws or those bills or what you fall under, so that way you're not alone or confused, which is why we have you come on and share who you are and how you can help. So thanks so much for coming on. It's been so fun.
It's been my pleasure. Thank
Absolutely.
you for inviting me.
Yes, and Kelly will be on again. We're going to be talking some more, a little bit more in depth about the voucher programs that you are seeing pop up everywhere with homeschool dollars, because that's the hot topic of this year, as well as regulations for testing and some other things that have come up. So you're not going to want to miss those. So make sure you subscribe and share it with your friends, so that way we can get the word out about homeschooling. Happy homeschooling, everybody. We'll see you next time.